The video you've just watched is of Millwall fans booing both Millwall football players and Derby County football players for taking the knee in support of Black Lives Matter last Saturday, December the 5th, 2020. Totally outrageous. Football authorities like the FA and the EFL condemn the fans for booing the footballers. But when it comes to the British government, well, that's another story. Now, the white, right-wing, nationalist English government rolled out a former UKIP candidate and the Minister for Agriculture, George Eustace, to defend the fans. Think about that for a moment. Your government, who you pay taxes to, came out in support of the fans being racist. This is England. Now, to understand these racists in the British government, you have to listen for what they do not say rather than what they do say, to get an idea of what they really believe. So let's play the tape. Sorry, just before we play the tape, you've just got to remember that the football authorities condemned Millwall fans for booing the players. And in this clip, you're not going to hear the British government condemn Millwall fans. Why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They agree with them.
While I've got you, there's just one question that I wanted to get your views on. Now, this week, we saw some football fans returning to stadiums, and at a Millwall game, when the players took the knee to support Black Lives Matter, there was an awful lot of booing by supporters. What was your reaction to that?
Well, look, I didn't see that event. I know that, look, obviously, the issue of race and racial discrimination is something that we all take very, very seriously. My personal view is that Black Lives Matter, capital B, L and M, is actually a political movement that is different to what most of us believe in, which is standing up for racial equality. But look, each individual can take their own choices about how they reflect this, and I know a number of people feel quite strongly and have taken that approach.
Now, it has some notorious fans. One of them is a bloke called Danny Baker. Now, you might say, who he? Well, Danny Baker is the Millwall fan supporting former BBC presenter that put out a tweet likening Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's baby to a monkey. Exhibit A, I will show you on the screen. That's who Danny Baker is. This is who they are. They reveal themselves. Shocking. Sorry, I mustn't laugh in the videos, but yeah, it's shocking. Boris Johnson's government was coming under attack for not condemning Millwall fans for booing the football players. So the government rolled out the Foreign Office and Commonwealth Office, or Colonial Office, Minister James Cleverly to soften the government's message or image. So let's hear the houseboy.
Millwall, you saw at the weekend the booing. Thought on that first of all?
The booing is wrong. The booing is wrong. You know, we all have our views over Black Lives Matter as an organisation, as an agenda, but ultimately the fight against racism, particularly the fight against racism in football, is really important. Kick Racism Out of Football is a fantastic organisation. It's been working on this for many years. I think it was wrong, and the people who did it, I think, should just think a little bit about the message they send about what is our national game.
Should there be action taken against them? Because it's not difficult to know who they are.
Look,
Not many people in the ground, were there?
Yeah, I think action taken against them, I'd be a bit uncomfortable with. But I think
Let's not forget that this is the same government that has been attacking Marcus Rashford over the last 6 months over his campaign to get free school lunches for children during half term, summer term, winter term. They've been attacking him. And it has a deep racial undertone. It's the same government. Now, I recently did a video about that. If you check the link below in the descriptions, or maybe I'm getting good at this and I can put it up there or up there. But watch that video and inform yourself. This is who they are. This is England. I've been trying to say in these videos, in a really cack-handed way, that as African people, and as those of us who define ourselves or who identify as black, we've been on the wrong path. Since the 1970s, we've taken the wrong path. So that's nearly 50 years now we've been on the wrong path. And if we stay on this path, nothing is going to get better. That's the issue. It was claimed back in the 1970s that non-white people living in the UK suffered the same level or same type of discrimination. Well, that's just not true. The data shows it. Yes, other communities face discrimination and hatred. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that African people face a deeper level of discrimination and hatred. Based on our ethnicity, yes, but based on the historical record of the British being involved in the enslavement of our people and the colonization of our people. You see, the crimes committed against us were so horrendous and heinous that those crimes had to go somewhere. And those crimes were internalized into the fabric of what people call the United Kingdom. The crimes were shocking, and it's the society as a whole that has not been able to cleanse itself from these crimes. Now, you might be saying, oh, well, that's very highfalutin. But that was the case in Germany. It was the collective guilt of the Germans after the Second World War for their treatment of the Jewish population, Roma, Gypsies and other groups. It was their collective will that did this, or did that to them. So they had to root that out. The crimes committed against us by the British have never been faced, and those crimes have never been rooted out of the system. They are part of the DNA of this country. And if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But you know I'm right. To attack, to give to the public. In the early days, they had the Catholics. The Catholics were beaten and killed and tortured and persecuted, something rotten in the UK. Then they had the Africans and the European Jews. The Africans were known as the blackamoors. Over time, the Jews managed to get themselves out of the firing line, in Britain at least. But we Africans remained in the firing line all the way up from this, well, I was going to say from the 16th century, but, you know, really from the 15th, 14th, 13th century, all the way up into the 2020s or into the 21st century. We have been the bogeyman for this country, more so than the Muslim, more so than the Pakistani, more so than even the Romani Gypsy, more so than the Irish or the Scottish or the Welsh. We Africans have been the cornerstone, or we've been the repository for their hatred and their discrimination and their violence. This is what we're dealing with. If we want things to change, we have to accept that as African people and as those who identify as black, we have to accept that we face a different level of racism or discrimination or hatred. You see, it's different in magnitude, in intensity, in feeling. You see, what they're trying to do is turn us into an object that can be investigated, pushed around, abused, dismissed, marginalised. And it's all out in the open, but we choose not to see it. So unless and until we focus on what is really happening to us, then nothing will change. I'm going to play a clip of this joker. Then after that, I'm going to give you a precise example of what I'm saying. Now, this joker, Nick Ferrari, made some wildly racist comments the other day. So much so that if those comments were made about Jewish people, he would be sacked on the spot. So let's play the tape so you can just hear what he had to say. This is shocking stuff, man. In the 21st century.
Later in the show, you remember we spoke a couple of days ago about those Jamaican nationals, the rapists, paedophiles and murderers. Don't worry, the lawyers there have had their say, aided by some celebrities and a lot of Labour politicians. Many of them now currently reside in this country, are unlikely to be deported, so probably will be freed. So that's great work by various celebrities. I would tell you Tandy Newton is one of them. Naomi Campbell got involved as well, and various others. So fairly soon there could be a Jamaican rapist or paedophile coming to a street near you.
Now, no one has condemned his words. Not the owners of LBC in Global Radio. Not his fellow presenters that I put on screen here. These are the same presenters who ran down Jeremy Corbyn for being supposedly an anti-Semite day after day after day for the last 3 or 4 years. But not a word have they said about what Nick Ferrari has said. You see, it's shocking stuff. We've not heard anything from the Equalities and Human Rights Commission. We've not heard anything from Ofcom. We've not heard anything from the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer. Obviously, we're not going to hear anything from the government. You see, we're totally alone out here. No one is coming to save us. And this type of rhetoric, this hardcore racist rhetoric, goes on all the time. It's just, it's shocking stuff. I promised you an example. So I'm going to give an example of Rashan Charles. A young man was running away from the police, and the police caught him in an off license in Hackney. You can see the video as I speak, either here or here. And you'll see in the video, he's a thin little boy, 22 little boy, thin little boy. The police grabbed him. If you look in the video, he's not putting up any defense from them. He's not challenging them. They grab him, they throw him to the floor, and then they choke this young boy to death. This happened in 2017. They choked the young boy to death. Because the police said he was swallowing evidence, i.e. drugs. He was swallowing a packet of drugs. So they were choking him to death for swallowing a packet of drugs. Well, went to court. The police got off. Nothing happened. His mum died a few weeks after, I think, of heart failure or heart attack or a broken heart. So 2 people dead. policeman is still living a wonderful life. All the media, all the dogs in the media denounced the young boy. 22. It turned out that the packet that he had digested contained paracetamol and caffeine. They killed him for paracetamol and caffeine, choked to death, just like George Floyd, 2017. No, man, this shit has to stop. Now, if you think this is your mission to integrate into this society, then you're going to get a rude awakening. Nothing is changing. No one's coming to save you. This notion that you're part of the BAME nonsense is not going to save you. You have to recognize hard truths, hard realities. You are an African living in the UK as a colonial subject. You live in physical colonies or mental colonies in the UK. And you have to change your policy to reflect that. You cannot pretend that you do not live in colonies in the UK. You cannot pretend that we face racism like other groups. We face a particular type of hatred that is in the DNA of this society. You have to wake up to that reality and alter your modus operandi. That's what I'm saying in the video. Clearly, that's what I'm saying. Change your modus operandi to reflect the true conditions that we face in the UK. Because after all, this is England.